Character acting. It is the highest level of this art form. I think that any serious actor aspires to be transformational. To have the ability to be able to alter your vocal, your physical, your emotional instrument in order to step into the shoes of another human being. It requires imagination. It requires insight into the human condition. It requires empathy. It requires an ability to risk, to be bold, and in some cases, it means you gotta go to the darker parts of who we are. And today we're gonna talk to a hell of an actor, a real character actor, Trevor Long, Ozark's Cade Langmore. We're gonna shoot the shit, so put the phone back in your pocket. Creating Behavior starts now. Well, hello, my fellow daydreamers. So, character acting, right? What is it? How do you do it? It's like this mystery in a bottle when you're watching, transformational actors. Someone, like Daniel Day-Lewis or Meryl Streep or Toni Collette, Tilda Swinton, Ben Kingsley. These guys and gals who are completely transformational. So everything they do is really unrecognizable from what they did before. I mean, that's what real good character acting is. When you look at, a body of work, and every film, every show, every piece of theater is a completely realized human being, that's when you just tip your hat and you say, that's incredible. I don't know how I could ever do something like that. And, Trevor Long is a consummate character actor, and he has cobbled together over, the guy's been gritting it out for 25 years, a reputation of someone who can go to a dark place. Trevor has the ability to go to the darker sides, to the uglier sides of who we are as human beings, and that's not easy to do. If you want to have a real appreciation for his work, I'm going to give you 3 things to watch. First, watch Low Winter Sun. It was an AMC show, came out a few years ago. Mark Strong is the star of the show, about a bad cop. He plays this ex-cop who is a drug addict now. His name's Sean Foster. He's got a number of episodes. It's excellent work, and what's amazing about that is it was his first television work. It was his first time on a set, and he's going to talk about what that was like. And he was lucky enough to also to be directed by his brother. Check out Seeds. You can get it on Amazon. It's a dark psychological thriller. He goes to some really nightmarish places in that film. And then, of course, Ozark, which I hope all of you have watched. It's one of the best shows on television right now. An incredible ensemble. Laura Linney, Jason Bateman, Julia Garner, who plays Trevor's daughter in this series. Season 2, Cade Langmore. He comes in like just a bolt of thunder and fucks up everything. He's dangerous, he's dark, he's unpredictable, but yet you also have some empathy for him. You can see that there's humanity there. It's a complex part, it's nuanced, and it's just excellent work. So I'm excited to share a conversation. We're going to talk about time on Ozark. We're going to talk about some very personal, searing moments that we both had in grad school, our thoughts about the state of actor training in this country, particularly in the university world. So sit back. I hope you enjoy it. Here's Trevor Long. Trevor, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. Totally appreciate it. And, I was just telling you just a second ago that I dove into your sessions with Maggie Flanagan, who was also my teacher, as you know. And
that's digging some memories up for you, I'm sure.
Wow. It just totally made me realize how important she was to me, you know, in that moment. And stuff I didn't know about her life that just really moved me. The struggles she had coming to New York on her own and then becoming a teacher and how that evolved. It was just beautiful. Like you said so well, she's so tiny and frail, but she's, a giant in the room. I deeply respected her and wanted her to appreciate my work. I mean, I played hard too, but I really worked hard with the work, and I think she got a kick out of it. I was nervous, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't. There was more of a respect than a fear. But yeah, I didn't want to face the wrath of her. Her major calling you out on shit, and she would.
She'd call you out on your bullshit.
Oh yeah.
Her bullshit detector, like her sense of truth it set the core, it set like the bar for me, right?
Absolutely. I bet.
But she got soft. I mean, I wouldn't say softer, but certainly when she opened up her own studio, she had to adapt a little bit because you can teach in an MFA program in a way you can't teach.
Everything's so sensitive now that it's like you can't be rough like that, man. You just can't now.
The academic university training in the country so far censored.
Yeah.
The bullshit that those teachers have to go through, what you can say, can't say, students saying, "Oh, I'm not going to do this. This is too offensive."
Yeah.
You're an artist?
Yeah. So that being said, I wouldn't even consider grad school in this day and age. I mean, it's just you're not going to have the freedom to feel safe to explore very relevant, dark subject matters that are very real. I mean, it's too censored, like you said. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do this scene because it's racially insensitive. You can't deal with this piece of work because it offends this segment of the population. But just you want to be an artist and you want to.
Yeah, imagine doing. I don't know about. I did To Kill a Mockingbird at Rutgers. Very racist character. I don't think they touch that now. I don't think they would touch it, even though it's a very important piece that is against racism and shows the badness of racism. I don't think, even then when we did it, there was controversy, with a board coming in and saying, well, what's going on here? We got to really make sure this is handled right. Now they wouldn't touch it. I doubt.
And even in the classroom, as a student, if you say something, do something that's insensitive, like you're in a whole heap of trouble. So you're trying to teach these actors to be open and be free and to be truthful, and then they're in trouble.
I mean,
what they do.
Remember this stuff? We could yell, "You fucking cunt! You fucking this!" when you're coming alive, because it's getting your stuff out as an actor and open, and the emotions and you have to be watching you'd have to be monitoring yourself.
Listen, in first year, I did. My first scene was a scene called Advice to the Players. It's like between a theater director and a lawyer, and it's all about the apartheid.
Yeah, I remember that scene. It's a tough one.
So Larry Ballard, who was my he was a black guy, now one of my best friends. He was my partner, and Lloyd Williamson was in doing hands-on work. Okay,
I remember that episode with Lloyd.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's getting raw, right? So he's doing hands-on. He's adjusting us. We're getting off script. We are improvising, and he's in our ears like this little devil angel on both sides, and he's talking you through it. And we're alive, and now we're improvising. We're saying what we want, and he just kept saying to me, "Say what you want. Say what you want. Say what you want." And I was getting enraged, and he was pissed, and I called him the N-word. I said, "You're just nothing but a stupid."
Yep.
Right in class. And I couldn't believe I said it. It hit Larry like a ton of bricks, ripped his fucking heart out, ripped my I was a wreck. I mean, I was a wreck all day. I could not believe that came out of me.
Yeah.
But it was one of the most important moments of my training.
And it's an environment where that stuff was understood on both sides, and it's not a personal thing. It's not but anything approaching that now, you'd be out of school. You'd be done.
I mean, we sat on the floor and cried, and everybody was crying. But you know what? I'll forget. Maggie said, "So you want to be an actor?" And I held on to that as I was like, I was grieving because I couldn't believe. I'm like, my God, what else am I capable of?
Yeah, it reminds me of similar experience. And when Lloyd came in, I was preparing an activity that was just really personal, obviously, and brutal. And my emotions were. I knew that I was going to be working, soon in the class. And my emotions were going, and Lloyd was up there with 2 other actors and doing his whisper in the ear and like putting his hand, like having them, bend over and putting the hand on the back. And the woman started to cry, and they stopped for a minute and to discuss it, like this is the open. And what, Charlie, was the weirdest thing, like out of body experience. I start screaming at Lloyd. I'm like, you're a fucking con artist. You fuck. And I'm screaming. I'm like, you fake fucking bullshit Strasbergian fucking. And Lloyd just kind of just looked at me, and I saw red. I clicked, and I just saw red, and I got out of my chair, and I went to like go hit him. And then I somehow like regrouped and ran out of the room. And I'm in the hallway, and I'm like, I almost attacked a teacher. I verbally attacked a teacher. This is my first 2 months of grad school. I'm gone. I'm done. I'm out of school. And so I sit out there for it felt like 2 hours. I'm like, I'm done. And I come back in. I'm like, I got to go back in. Nobody came to get me. I go back in, and he's still on the stage talking. And I look at Maggie, and she's just like, nothing, just sort of poker face, but not angry, not anything. And I sit back down, and Lloyd's talking a little bit, and he's like, Trevor, and he said, we can talk about this. And that was a very truthful reaction. And I said, I apologize, Lloyd, and I started apologizing, and I started again. And I said, but you're a fucking bullshit. And I just started screaming, and everybody starts crying. Like the people on stage are crying, other students are crying. And I'm like, I kind of calmed down. And again, the thought was, I'm done. I'm out of here, And I looked over at Maggie, and she just went. She was like, "That's it." She just gave the smile.
What triggered that? Like, where'd that come from?
I don't know. What he was doing with the actors, I felt was manipulative, for whatever reason. I love Lloyd, and Lloyd's Lloyd, and he's great. But what he was doing, I thought was just sort of dishonest, or in that moment, I thought it was manipulative. I thought it was like he could get anybody to open and break down by what he's doing. And I was doing the whole act. There must have been stuff I was feeling raw from the work, and I don't know. I don't know. I literally saw red.
But then after that that's a safe space, right? The way she handled it.
And then Lloyd laughed, kind of, and it was cool. And Maggie, and I went up to Maggie afterward, and I said, I'm really, really sorry, Maggie, for this. I don't know what happened. She's like, no need. Don't apologize. Don't apologize. And that was it. That's all she said. And people came up to me afterward, and they're like, thank you. Or, I felt, the same way. And, so it was,
no, you'd be
very powerful.
You'd be kicked out today.
Oh, yeah. You'd be done. You'd be done.
We're putting out a generation of young artists that are too, I don't know, politically correct. It's like we're sacrificing truth for political correctness.
Yeah. And the problem with it too is, Charlie, what I've heard from another mentor teacher of mine who's taught like millennial people ages, they use it as a defense. Like, I'm better I don't need this. This is bullshit. I'm not going to do that. And so they have this entitlement and protection with this sort of like, this is not appropriate, or this is, so they use it as a protection for themselves to not have to go there and not have to do this. That's a problem, dude. It's
I agree.
and yet, our world is different, and it's a fine line, and it's but I think it's a shame.
You got to be able to go anywhere.
Yeah, you do. Right? And you have to know you're there for that. You're not, when you're in that space, you're not Charlie like I am shooting the shit. I mean, it's you, but it's you're in a space of being an artist. You're a space of anything flies. And
yeah. Was Seeds the darkest thing you've done?
I don't know if it was the darkest, but for me, it was the most challenging. I don't think it was. I don't. That's a good question. I mean, it's a tough subject matter to begin with, but then it came out right around the Me Too stuff, and people just didn't want to go near it. Even one of the major festivals said to us, "Really great film, but we can't touch this. Can't touch it with what's going on politically. It's just we need to go to other stuff." So that was tough. I know we made a great film, and people had really strong reactions to it, both good and bad. And but yeah, I think for me as an actor, I didn't want to do it. I think I mentioned that before. I didn't want to do it. I thought it was too challenging. I didn't think I could pull it off. It was the first time I was on screen the entire time. I was like, I just didn't see it. But my brother kept, he was like, I wrote it for you. I created the character for you. I think you'd be great. I think you can do it. You can do it. But, and I would have been happy not doing it and playing a different role if he could get a name or whatever. But it worked out, and yeah, but I was in a dark, interesting, as an actor, I've gotten better at not carrying stuff. I don't need to go in a corner so much anymore and prepare emotion because I do all that on my own. That when I'm on set, I can be light like we are now and then go do something pretty heavy. That one, I was in a very weird place pretty much 24/7.
Did you go all Daniel Day-Lewis on that one?
No, I didn't. It's not that I went Daniel Day-Lewis, is that I had a very creepy vibe. Even, on set, and I wanted to be as secluded as possible, off set and on set. I didn't really, obviously I was nice to, I didn't ignore people, but I'm just saying for that role, more than any role I've done, I was very, I had to keep it churning, and I had to, because there wasn't a lot on paper, and it was such an unspoken character, an internal character, that it had to be all in the eyes and the face, that I had to keep the gears moving. So it was exhausting to a degree, but I felt for that role, I don't know why, I just felt like I needed to keep the intensity 20, on set and off set.
Well, I know I read somewhere you said that like you couldn't necessarily relate to his behavior, but you could relate to his pain. And so, because actors always they're trying to find their way into something.
Yeah. Well, obviously we've all got pain. Obviously, I don't care how wealthy you are, what your background is, poor, rich. We've all got a ton of pain and a ton of, even if it comes to our imagination, and again, I know our training is a lot with imagination, which I love because I don't have any, as me, Trevor, painful things. Yeah, they're there. But the wellspring of imagination, the what if, what if someone murdered my son? What if someone came and took my son and raped him or murdered him? I mean, just right there, I can feel it. Just the image of it, the talking about it. That is so much more powerful than, oh, my dog died back in 2003. I remember those feelings. It doesn't work. It's a whole other way of working. The imagination is limitless. And it's rooted in something in you. You root it in reality. You're not going outside yourself. You're rooting in something that's very meaningful to me. What would happen if this happened to my wife or to my child? And you can just go anywhere with it.
Yeah. I mean, because you got to think essentially, honestly. I mean, that's really what it's about. Like getting to the essence of like, what is this emotionally? How do I understand it?
Yes. And what I find too, Charlie, it's interesting is like I said, as I think, I'm still discovering it and playing with it, but as I get more experienced and older, and it's a lot less tiring. I mean, you put in a lot of the rigorous work, but I feel like if the work is deep enough on your own, it's in your cells, it's in your energy starts to shift and change. That you don't have to hold on to it so much, when you're on the set. In fact, I find it almost better, even if it's heavy material, to just be very open and relaxed. And if conversations come up, you talk and not too distracted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're pretty loose rather than in the corner, because I think it flows better if you've done the work. You've got to do the work, but then you can just really trust. I don't need to keep grappling with it. It's there.
Did you know that you were a character actor from like early on, or did that kind of reveal itself to you?
I didn't. Well, I knew at Rutgers, because they pretty much told me. It's funny. My first role at Rutgers was a very leading man, romantic. It was good. It was a very sweet guy, and then it all changed from there. But it went well, and then I just started gravitating. My activities and my emotional life was always very fiery and dark. My imagination goes more dark, and that lended to my temperament. So I think I began to realize through the work and through the roles I was cast in, someone who's going to play very different, on edge kind of. It's funny, it's like with people that I meet now with Ozark, they're like, I cannot believe it's you, because I'm nothing like that in my energy and my my openness is very different. He's a very heavy energy, so it's very, very different. And so people are like, I don't get it. I don't really get it.
But you read the script, and you go, "Oh, I can do this. This is in my wheelhouse."
Yeah, it's it's funny. My friend Brett Leonard, who's a writer, TV and lab, because of everything that's going on, and how TV's changing with how casting's changing now, and he said, and I don't feel I have. I mean, we all do to a degree, but I'm not a racist person, And my friend's like, you're going to have tons of racist roles ahead of you, with the environment we're in. They're going to be calling for stuff like that, and it's just so interesting because you're just like, that's not me, but you somehow find,
But yet it is, right? Because it's in you, right? Like you.
Well, yeah, the anger, it's a very strange. Imagine, your inner life is a very strange world that doesn't necessarily match you as Charlie every day. Me as Trevor every day. It can be very, very different.
Well, I know you mentioned Brett. I mean, he's the one that really opened the door for Low Winter Sun, right? I mean,
yeah. And my stage work, I did most of my lab work was through Bill Leonard's plays. I even went to London and did one of his plays and did the same play in New York. And he's there's a guy who's, he's a complex guy in real life, but he's a fun, loving guy. And he writes very dark, heavy, beautiful, heartbroken stuff, and it's like, where's that come from? And it's, he had a good childhood and good parents, and it's just very strange. And so, yeah, Brett did open up Low Winter, another great character actor role, broken, homeless.
Yeah, I heard you would bring your own bag of dirt. You're a homeless. You're a drug addict. Like, don't wash my clothes. Don't wash my fucking clothes.
I'd rub the dirt in, my nails, and and one guy made a joke of it when he did an interview after the show. And he's like, yeah, this one dude, man, I saw this guy in the lobby of the hotel. I'm like, this dude, what's this homeless guy doing in the hotel? Then I found out he had his own bag of dirt. And he was like, what the fuck? I guess that was just one of those, I wanted my first big TV thing, and I'm like, I better pull it all out.
Well, what was it like? What was Mark Strong? That guy's he's a pro, man.
I have another interview that we've become pretty close, and the sweetest, again, guy who plays a lot of villains, sweetest guy. He's like 6'3". He's just got this beautiful physique and face and voice and talent to back it up. And the first day on set, our big, sort of one of our bigger scenes, it was my first big scene to shoot, my first television scene to ever shoot. And Brett was on set because it was his episode that he wrote. And we're doing like the first, this is the worst feeling, Charlie. We're doing like the first 5 takes, and I feel it. It's just dead. It sucks. And I can feel it. I'm like, oh, fuck, this is rough. And every take we do, it's getting worse. And I'm like, and I can see Brett's face like, you fucked me on this. I fought for you. I could just see it in his eyes like, what the fuck are you doing? Mark Strong says nothing. Totally open, just cool. And he's like the head of the show. And I'm like sucking up I'm like, oh, this is. And then I went up to Brett. We stopped for a minute. And I went to Brett. I'm like, dude. He was like, yeah, dude, it's not working. Whatever you're doing, it's not working. And I was like, I know, dude. I said, just my whole body shut down. I was like, oh my God.
And this was your first major TV experience.
First TV ever.
Oh man.
I'd never been on television.
You're making me sweat just thinking about being in that space.
And it's like this big scene. It's like I'm running around, I'm drunk, and he tackles me. And I could feel my body just go, like, you suck. And I knew it. And then somewhere around like the 6th take or whatever, it just clicked. I don't know what happened. I just sort of fucking threw it away. I don't know what. And it started to I could feel it. And it was starting to there was it was happening between me and Mark, and we were doing shit, and little stuff started happening. And then by the time we finished the scene, we got it, and it was great. And Mark Strong came up, and I was talking to someone, maybe Brett, and I feel these arms come behind me and just gave me this fucking hug, like, dude, it's all right, man.
Man, that's scary, because that's pressure, man. Well, I mean, so what did you learn? I mean, was that like a seminal moment there for you? Like, did you learn something about that?
Again, I don't know what happened, and I remember feeling it, the shift. I just stopped thinking. I was like, just fucking do it. You're prepared as much as you can be. That's another thing. I had like 2 days to prepare because it was so fast. It was like phone call, you're doing it. You're on a plane in 2 days. You're going to start shooting the next day. I was like, what? And so it was like so very quick. I had an idea of the character, but I had virtually no time. And then the set scene after the one I just told you about was like one of my biggest. It was a huge physical scene, and it went great. But Brett told me afterward, and I gotten a little better with it. But he's like, "You were great." He's like, your continuity was fucking all over the place. He's like, they had to really work to cut around that shit because he was like, you had no concept of continuity. You were but it was all right. We got it. You don't
think of that when you're first on the show.
No, I don't. I ran into that problem in Ozark a lot because they're smoking a lot, and so every time you got to know what line you're going to go, and then say the line. You can't say the line, then hit it, and then. You got to kind of know it and kind of map it out a little bit so you don't run into a lot of trouble.
I mean, do you improvise that a little bit in the master shot and then okay, I got to remember that?
Yeah, I don't map it all out. Yeah, you improvise it, what feels right, and you try to get as close as you can to it and then forget about it. And don't do too much of it because if you're doing left hand, right hand, take a drink, then you're getting into trouble if you do too much stuff. I mean, yeah, it's, you just kind of learn by doing it. I'm still not. I still fuck it up. The key is fuck the continuity if it's going to fuck with your performance. Get the performance. Try to keep it in the back of your mind, but don't let that override.
Let them worry about it in the editing room.
Yeah. They'll get it. And they'll catch you. If it's way off, they're going to go, you know what? The script, you'll come over and go, you took a drag of your cigarette after you said, they're on it. So they're really going to come up if you're way out of the waters. They're going to come over and say, just make sure you take the puff on before you say the line rather than after.
Did you know when you got Ozark that it was going to do what it did?
No, I'm still waiting for it to do what it should. I'm still waiting for it to do what it.
Oh yeah, I'm ready for one on the call sheet now. Come on, let's go.
Come on, I'm ready for a job.
Yeah. But did you know it was good?
Yeah. So after second season, if I was good in it, I didn't know if I was going to be. I didn't really know how good it was going to be, and if I did what I felt it could be, I was like, yeah, um, this is going to be great. It's gonna. I'm in the entire season. It's a great character with a relationship with one of the leads. I knew going into second season it was already very popular. Interesting, in the first season, there was no indication he was going to continue in the second season. Even when I finished the first season, I got a sense that he might to a degree because I left it with that opening of we need to talk. But I didn't think I'd be in it more than an episode or two in the second. Like I thought they would just kind of kill me or leave me in prison, or I had no idea I'd get out. And then at the premiere, a screening of it. That was the premiere of season 1 in New York. I was invited, and I'm sitting in the audience, and Jason Bateman's announcing it before it comes on, and he mentions my name, and I'm like, I'm barely in it. I was like, whoa. He's like, and our cast member Trevor Long. I was like, yeah, I'm only in it for like 5 minutes total, all 3 scenes, and so I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then later that night, he came up to me and. Bateman, I was talking to him, he goes, get ready for season 2. You got your work cut out for you. And I was like, holy shit. So then I knew. I was like, oh shit, that's awesome. I didn't know how much even then. And then I got a call a month before shooting. I still figured, maybe 5 eps, 6 eps. And then I got a call from the showrunner a month prior to shooting. He's like, I got good news, bad news. Bad news, you die. Good news, you're in the whole season. I was like, I'll take it. Yeah. I'll take it, man. I was like, great.
Yeah.
So
and I mean, man, Julia Gardner's just she's really carving out a career at her age. Unbelievable.
She's a star.
Body of work already. And I didn't know that she was also a character actor. I mean, I was watching her in Waco.
Oh, total. And then did you see her first thing, Marcy May?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
Total character actress, very different in everything.
She's so good. I mean, you guys had, a lot of chemistry there.
Yeah, we really did. We got lucky with that. We see, that was the key too. We had a lot of fun off screen. Me, Julia, and Charlie, who plays Wyatt. We would all hang out and get in trouble and just be stupid trouble, like funny. We'd all, as a little trio, just go out and do our thing every, on our off nights, and we felt very relaxed with each other. We weren't like, see you later, and then don't see each other until we show up, which is normal. But we all hung out, and it was very comfortable and very crazy and fun. And so it does translate. I absolutely agree.
And the love, the violence, it's you're not molesting her, right? But there's that
no. He never did.
No. But there's it's there. So how did you find that? Did you push? It's not in the page.
No, well, it's implied, and so I had talks with the showrunner before shooting season 2, and I'm like, I just need to know, was there any kind of sexual abuse? And he said no. We do imply it. She was 9 years old when you went into prison, and that would be a whole different thing. And he's like, no, it's just that she's like the surrogate wife. There's an attraction. There's a deep attraction that I'm probably not even aware of on certain, and it does probably overlap into sexual. And I look at her as, in a weird way, as a wife figure, and I think part of the vibe of the sexual attraction is him wanting to control her and doing things that are just a little weird, but.
And it's also violent too, though. I mean, that scene in the is it the scene in the funeral home?
Yeah, great. I love that. That was a tough one to shoot, but Julie's so great, and she was comfortable with anything, and we would talk it through. And
did they have a stunt coordinator there? And
oh yeah,
did they have an intimacy coach on set, or did they?
That didn't exist
yet.
Didn't
exist, yeah.
No, it didn't exist yet. So. Yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes, even though it was one of the harder ones, just to get it right, to get it real. she's in a very vulnerable place. I'm in a very fucked up, starting to lose the place. But yeah, she was, and that's the thing, I think, in a lot of my inner work on that role, I did do a lot of fantasy work on a relationship with her. It's sexual, just so that it would bleed through. I would do that in my imagination, imagine being with her character, Kate and her together.
Well, you have that scene when you get into bed and like she climbs over you or you climb over her.
I climb. So that was an improv. So in the script, that wasn't written. It was written. I just lay next to her and kind of like we're talking. I pass out, and we shot the scene. And Jason Bateman was directing. I'm like, can I try something? He's like, yeah, go. He was totally open to anything. He's like, yeah, I can do it. Go, let's try it. And we'd already gotten it. And so I'm like, all right, so we do it. And then I come in the room and I get on the edge of the bed and I'm like, I'm just going to like get over her. Like I'm going to mount her. And then like, just like, he's not really conscious of it, but he's like on top. He's like, he's going to maybe, and then he rolls and they kept it. It was a total improv. I'm like, I was like, they're never going to use that. I was like, it's too dark.
See, man, it's all about ideas. Like that was an idea you had, right?
Yeah, just came. And it wasn't something I planned. It was in the moment. It was after shooting the scene. I'm like, oh, what if I just, just kind of. And that was great about Jason. He opened the door to that freedom. A lot of directors won't. He opened the door to that freedom of trying ideas and speaking up and saying, what if I, try this? And he did it with me. And I was like, oh, let's try this line on the fly. Like, just say this instead. Or
I guess it helps that he's an actor, right?
Yeah, totally. Because he gets it. He's been doing it for so long. It's like I know he prepares, but it's like, but I've seen him, but he's juggling so many hats, directing, producing, starring. I know there are certain scenes that he's barely looked at and certainly doesn't know the lines fully. And I've seen him studying the script like 10 minutes before we like memorizing the lines, like, because he just hasn't had time. Mm-hmm. And he's like literally like a cold, like going through and going, learning the lines. And then he'd be like, what's that line again? Because it's just, he's been doing it for so fucking long.
Yeah. So how important is listening? I mean,
would you no? Stupid. I mean, it's everything. And again, it's not just listening with your head. It's listening viscerally, sensorially, with your entire being, with your entire body. It's like feeling the tingle in your left leg as someone says something, or it's being alert to your emotions. It's a inward, outward listening constantly. You're checking inward, 50% in, 50% out, and it's like this dance. So that it's not just all out, and you're just, it's a very alive, flowing thing. That's like you're checking in, you're checking out, you're checking in, you check. So it's, I think it's everything. I mean, it's the aliveness of the act.
It is. Yeah.
And it's a tough. I mean, I'm not a great listener. I mean, to ask my wife, I'm a terrible listener. I can turn it off pretty good. But when it's a focused thing and the listening happens and it's an organic thing, I think it's, especially for film and TV, it's really, really the touchstone is the listening, the responding. I like the word, it's interesting, I like the word responding better than reacting at this stage in my work, because you may not react, but you're going to respond, even if it's very subtle. There's going to be a response. And if you're listening, the response will read, even if you're sitting there doing nothing, the response will be alive. You're not necessarily going to react, but you're going to have a response.
Do you miss theater?
I do, but it's. I just was somebody who was just a wreck the entire day before going on stage. I was always nervous. I was worried about my voice because I do catch it a lot in here, and I was always is just always so preoccupied with 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And your whole day is just colored by that feeling. Whereas film, I'm much more playful and relaxed prior. I'm just like, we are now. And then like, all right, we got to go shoot this big scene because there's so much time and there's so much, it's just very normal. You can do it again. You've done the work.
Well, I know you did In Arabia We'd Be Kings way back in the day. What was it like working with Phil?
It was a turning point in my work as an actor. Phil, again, is someone who ruthlessly calls you on your bullshit. And he had it. He knew he had a thing to go after me. He has certain people that he's hard on. And, I was playing the charmy, getting by, like doing my heroin addict, charming, and he just fucking stopped me right in my just in a rough way, just
in rehearsal.
Oh yeah, he was rough, but he was like that because he truly wanted the artist to be beyond great, and he had that standard for himself. He was really, really passionate. He was very good at speaking to an actor and saying, "This is what it's like. This isn't what you're doing. Is you're playing you're play acting." He's like, "This is what this moment is." And like one time, I was the first opening scene in the bar, and I'm waiting to get to score some heroin. And I'm trying to con people a little bit and trying to get money, like $20 here. And I'm like just sitting in the bar and it's pouring rain out, which is barely mentioned in the stage race, but it's raining. And it's like 1 a.m. And I'm doing the scene and Phil just in the middle of rehearsals, like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? And then he went into this, like, this is what this is. You're a fucking guy whose career might have been an actor, because the guy talks about acting, like you might have had your looks and you might have had some potential, but it started going downhill. You started partying, you fucked yourself, and now you're living on the fucking streets, and you're in this fucking bar, and if you don't get that fucking $20, you walk out of here, you fucking kill yourself. That's your fucking life right now. You're fucking dead. And I was just like, whoa, it just changed it. I was like, I was just playing a dude who's like, hey, give me some money. And it was just this whole shift of like, and I knew this stuff from the training, but
It's very much like a Maggie moment, because that's what Maggie would do.
Very much. Yeah, it is. And he was such
a champion of the actor, a champion of just art.
Just loved, just a genius. And you can't use that word lightly, but he was one of a kind. I mean, he's in the leagues of Daniel Day-Lewis, and to be directed by him was, as painful as it was something I'll never forget. And he shaped that performance. Obviously it took me to do the work. It took me to take it seriously, but he pushed me into one of the better performances I've given.
Well, my fellow daydreamers, I hope you enjoyed that talk. Thank you for sticking around, keeping the phone in your pocket. Please subscribe to the show, follow it wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review on iTunes. I'd really appreciate that. You can go to my website, creatingbehaviorpodcast.com, for all of the links to all of the information and content to this show. You can leave me a message. I use SpeakPipe. Press a button, leave me a comment, let me know what you're thinking, your thoughts, your opinions. You can follow me on Instagram at Creating Behavior. You can follow my studio at Maggie Flanagan Studio. Lawrence Trailer, thank you for the music, my man. Okay, you guys, come on now. Stay resilient. Playful out with yourself when you can. Operate outside of your comfort zone and don't ever settle for your second best. My name is Charlie Sandlan. Peace.